Next we're going to put a strip of cherry cobbler along here to cover up the seam. And this is a 1.5 inch piece of cherry cobbler with 3/8 inch folded over on either side, which you want to use an iron to press those edges. That'll be the easiest. And here's a 1 inch by 1 by 12 piece of adhesive sheet. And so I'm going to peel the printed layer off of the adhesive sheet. And try to get my fingers off of it. Then I'm going to take this and lay it down on top of the adhesive sheet. And that adhesive sheet is going to just finish this nicely so that those edges will stay turned under. And then I'm just going to burnish this or rub it with bone folder so that the adhesive transfers well to the fabric. And if you haven't used these adhesive sheets yet, let me tell you, I love them. They make doing a lot of things very easy. So, including this thing that we're doing right now. So now I'm going to just peel the backing off and try to get my finger away from it. Okay, and then I'm going to start laying this over the raw edge. Just like that. Piece of cake. Then the end, I'm going to fold under, and I'm just going to tack it down with a couple of pins. You can see everything sticking to my fingers. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take a baby wipe and try to get some of the sticky off my fingers so I don't keep sticking to the pins and stuff. I like to have some baby wipes handy for that reason. So now I'm going to just lay a strip of sticky strip along each edge of this fabric that I just put down. And this is what we're going to attach the crochet trim ruffle to. So I've got my 2 strips of sticky strip, and I've got my crochet trim here. And we're going to make ruffles. So the first thing is to uncover the adhesive under this red layer. Now I start with the crochet trim, and I lay it right to the edge of the sticky strip, and then I just make pleats as I lay it down. And with each little pleat I make, I press down into the adhesive, and I'm going to go all the way around the ornament using both of those rows of sticky strip. So when you get to the end, you just cut your trim, and if there isn't any sticky left to stick it to, just use another pin. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other one, and I'll be back when that one's done. I've got 2 rows of ribbon of crochet trim ruffles here. Now, what's important in laying down these 2 rows is you're going to cover the edges of them with some seam binding. So you want to make sure that they're all going to get covered, and I guess I did a pretty good job. if you get them too far apart, they won't get covered up. Now, I'm going to lay down some sticky strip on top of the edges of the ruffles, overlapping with the fabric underneath, trying to keep the sticky strip narrow enough that the seam binding is going to cover it all. And the seam binding, I mean the sticky strip that you put on now is, see how the ruffles kind of stand up? They're not everything is tacked down. So this sticky strip is just going to help secure that edge of the ruffles. So I'm going to do that on either side. Got 2 sticky strips laid down on top of all those pleats, and I just cut the end off there. And then I start, again, you have to get rid of the red layer. Okay, so I'm going to start just laying the cherry cobbler seam binding to cover the edges of the ruffle. Now, because the seam binding frays so easily, when I cut the edge of it, the end of it, I do a pretty deep angle. Now the ends of this are going to get covered by our bow, so it's okay that it overlaps like that. And I'm just going to tack the end down with a pin again. Okay, so there's the ribbon. Cherry cobbler seam binding. And I'm going to make a loop like the ribbon for breast cancer awareness, or for our troops, or any of those causes. Okay, and I'm going to put this bow together on the grid paper because it doesn't roll around like the ornament does. And so to help me with that, I'm just going to use a little dado to hold it together as I'm making it. So there's the first loop, and then I turn it and I make a loop just opposite that. And I'm going to make this layer kind of big and floppy, because each subsequent layer is going to be a little smaller than the one before. I'm continuing to use dado to keep it together while I'm making it. And then when you've got 2 loops done, you make the next one so it's pretty much perpendicular to the first 2. Like that. And here's the last loop on this layer. There we go. And I'm going to cut this end. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing with the always artichoke seam binding, but it's going to be just slightly smaller. And then I'll do 1 layer of the very vanilla 3/8 inch taffeta. So you can see here I've got the 2 layers, the 3 layers that I'm going to put together. So I'm going to start by just attaching the cherry cobbler with a pin, then the always artichoke, and I didn't cut the end of the very vanilla because we're going to make the loop to hang it from. So first comes a pin, then I'm going to measure out enough for my loop to hang it from, and I'm going to put another pin to hold that end of the loop. Then I'm going to cut enough to make a little loop inside there. So it's going to look like this. There's going to be this little loop that covers all the center. So to do that, I just take and kind of twist it around like that and put another pin in it. And there you go. Your ornament is done. All except for a little embellishment right in the center. And what I used is just some rhinestone brads from the Fire and Ice collection. And they just poke right into the styrofoam very easily. There you go. And we're done.